A swimming pool is an oasis. It's a place to relax, to have fun, to create memories. But what happens when your pool starts to show its age? Cracks appear, the surface becomes rough. Don't worry, there is a solution that is more affordable and longer lasting than you might think. Fiberglass. Imagine a pool surface so smooth it feels like silk beneath your fingertips. Imagine vibrant, fade-resistant colors that will make your pool the envy of the neighborhood. Fiberglass is incredibly durable, resisting cracks, leaks, and algae growth. Now, you might be thinking, fiberglassing a pool sounds like a job for the professionals, and while you can certainly hire someone, it's entirely possible to tackle this project yourself and save a significant amount of money. With the right guidance and a little bit of elbow grease, you can achieve professional quality results. This step-by-step guide will walk you through the entire process, from gathering your materials to adding the finishing touches. We'll break it down into manageable steps, providing clear instructions and helpful tips along the way. So get ready to dive into the world of DIY pool renovation. Before we dive into the action, let's gather our tools and materials. For this project, you'll need a few key items to transform your pool from drab to fab. First on our list is the star of the show, fiberglass. You'll want to choose a fiberglass mat specifically designed for swimming pools. These mats come in rolls and are available in different weights. We recommend opting for a heavier weight for maximum durability. Next up, we need the magic potion that binds everything together: resin. You have two main choices: polyester resin or epoxy resin. Polyester resin is more budget-friendly, while epoxy resin offers superior strength and chemical resistance. To activate the resin, you'll need a hardener. Now let's talk about some essential tools for the job. You'll need a good quality paintbrush and roller specifically designed for resin application. Sandpaper will be your best friend for smoothing out any rough edges and preparing the surface for the next layer of fiberglass. Safety first. Always wear protective gear when working with fiberglass and resin. This includes gloves, safety glasses, and a respirator mask to protect yourself from harmful fumes. You can find all of these materials and tools at your local hardware store or online. Now that we have our materials and tools assembled, it's time to turn our attention to the heart of the matter: preparing the pool surface. The first order of business is to drain the pool completely. Once the pool is empty, take some time to remove any debris, leaves, or toys that might have taken up residence at the bottom. With the pool drained, it's time to give it a good scrub. Use a stiff bristled brush and a heavy-duty pool cleaner to tackle any stubborn stains or buildup. Pay close attention to areas around the steps, lights, and fittings, as these spots tend to harbor dirt and grime. A pressure washer can be a helpful tool for this step, but be sure to use it with caution. Once the pool is sparkling clean, it's time to break out the sandpaper. This step is essential for creating a slightly rough surface that will allow the fiberglass to bond properly. Start with a coarser grit sandpaper, around 60 to 80 grit, and gradually work your way up to a finer grit, like 120 to 150 grit. Sand the entire surface of the pool, paying special attention to any rough spots, cracks, or peeling paint. Once you're satisfied with the sanding, use a shop vac or a damp cloth to remove all the dust and debris. Alright folks, it's time to get our hands dirty. But before we dive into the fiberglass, let's take a moment to talk about cutting. First things first, you'll need a good quality utility knife with sharp blades. Safety first, always. Now take a good look at your pool and decide how you want to lay down the fiberglass. You can cut it into smaller, more manageable pieces, or if you're feeling confident, you can work with larger sections. Just remember, it's always better to err on the side of smaller pieces, especially if you're new to this. Once you've decided on your approach, measure the area you'll be covering, and mark the fiberglass mat accordingly. Use a straight edge or a yardstick to ensure your cuts are nice and straight. And here's a pro tip: use a permanent marker to make your lines visible. With our fiberglass all prepped and ready, it's time to whip up the magic potion that will bond it all together: the resin. Each resin will have its own specific mixing ratio with the hardener, so be sure to read the manufacturer's instructions carefully. This part is crucial, folks. Too much hardener and the resin will cure too quickly, leaving you with a sticky mess. Too little and it might not cure properly at all. Now grab your mixing bucket and pour in the resin and hardener according to the recommended ratio. Use a separate stir stick for each component to avoid any contamination. Once you've added both the resin and hardener to the bucket, it's time to get stirring. Mix the two components thoroughly, using slow and deliberate motions. Alright, our fiberglass is cut, our resin is mixed, and we're ready to roll, literally. Using your paintbrush, apply a generous and even coat of resin to the area where you'll be laying the fiberglass. Work in small sections, about 3 feet by 3 feet at a time, to prevent the resin from drying out before you can lay down the fiberglass. Once you've applied the resin, it's time to work quickly and carefully. Grab your pre-cut piece of fiberglass mat and carefully lay it over the wet resin. Start from one edge and gently smooth it out, working your way across the surface. Avoid air bubbles by using a roller or a squeegee to press the fiberglass firmly into the resin. As you lay down the fiberglass mat, you might notice some excess resin squeezing out from the edges. This is perfectly normal, and actually a good sign that you're using enough resin. Just use your brush to spread it out evenly, or remove any excess with a putty knife. Continue working in small sections, overlapping each piece of fiberglass mat by about an inch to ensure a strong bond. If you need to cut the fiberglass mat to fit around corners or curves, use your utility knife and a steady hand. Once you've covered the entire surface with a layer of fiberglass mat, give it a final once-over to ensure there are no wrinkles, bubbles, or gaps. Now, it's time to let the resin cure. Now that you've got the hang of applying fiberglass, it's time to talk about strength in numbers. While a single layer provides a good foundation, multiple layers are the key to achieving that rock-solid, long-lasting finish we're after. For most residential pools, 2 to 3 layers of fiberglass are recommended. This provides the perfect balance of strength, durability, and a smooth, professional-looking finish. Of course, you can always add more layers if you want to go the extra mile, but for most DIYers, 2 to 3 layers will do the trick. First and foremost, we need to make sure the previous layer is properly cured before applying the next one. Remember how we talked about the resin curing time? Well, this is where it becomes super important. If you apply the next layer of fiberglass too soon, the resin won't have a chance to fully cure, and you'll end up with a sticky, uneven mess. On the other hand, if you wait too long, the surface might become too hard, making it difficult for the next layer of fiberglass to bond properly. The best way to gauge this is by doing a simple touch test. Carefully touch the surface of the cured fiberglass with your fingertip. If it feels slightly tacky but not sticky, you're good to go. Congratulations! You've successfully applied multiple layers of fiberglass to your pool. Now it's time to shift gears and grab our trusty sandpaper. This step is all about transforming those layers of fiberglass into a smooth, seamless surface that's ready for its final coat of paint. Before you get started, make sure your fiberglass layers are completely cured. Start with a coarser grit sandpaper, around 80 to 100 grit, to knock down any high spots or rough edges. Sand in long, smooth strokes following the contours of the pool. As you sand, you'll notice the surface becoming smoother and more uniform. Once you've gone over the entire area with the coarser grit sandpaper, switch to a finer grit, around 120 to 150 grit, to achieve a smoother finish. Once you're happy with the smoothness, use a damp cloth to wipe away any dust or debris. The final touch gel coat application. Now that your pool surface is smooth as a baby's bottom, it's time for the grand finale, applying the gel coat. Gel coat is a specially formulated resin that provides a durable, waterproof, and UV-resistant finish to your fiberglass. Gel coat comes in a variety of colors, so you can choose the perfect shade to match your backyard oasis. Before you start, make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area and wearing protective gear. Mix the gel coat according to the manufacturer's instructions, just like we did with the resin. Using a clean brush or roller, apply a thin, even coat of gel coat to the entire surface of the pool. Once you've applied the first coat, allow it to cure completely according to the manufacturer's instructions. Well folks, we're in the home stretch. You've prepped, you've glassed, you've sanded, you've gel coated. Now it's time to make sure all that hard work paid off. Just like a pilot does a pre-flight check, we're gonna do a final walkthrough of your newly resurfaced pool. Grab your trusty notepad and a pen and let's go for a stroll around your pool. We're on the lookout for any imperfections, tiny air bubbles, missed spots in the gel coat, or rough patches that might need a touch-up. Run your hand, wearing a glove of course, gently over the surface, feeling for any bumps or inconsistencies. If you spot any air bubbles, you can carefully pierce them with a pin and smooth out the gel coat while it's still slightly tacky. Check around the lights, steps, and any fittings to make sure the gel coat is smooth and even. A small artist's brush can come in handy for touching up any tight spots. Remember, this is your last chance to catch any blemishes before you fill her up. Okay, the moment of truth has arrived. The final inspection is complete, and your pool has passed with flying colors. Now it's time for the most satisfying part of the entire process, filling that pool back up with sparkling clean water. Before you grab the garden hose, take one last peek at your water source. Make sure your hose is clean and free of any debris that could clog your pool filter. Got a well? Let it run for a bit to flush out any sediment. Now let the waterworks begin. As your pool fills, keep an eye on the water level. You don't want it overflowing and undoing all your hard work. Once it's full, give your pool equipment a final check. Make sure your pump, filter, and any other gadgets are in tip-top shape and ready to go. And there you have it, a beautifully resurfaced pool, ready for endless hours of fun in the sun. Congratulations, my friend, you did it. And there you have it. We've reached the end of our fiberglass journey, and look at you, a true DIY pool resurfacing hero. You've tackled each step with patience, precision, and a whole lot of grit, pun intended. From draining and prepping to laying fiberglass and adding that final gleaming gel coat, you've transformed your pool into a shimmering oasis. Remember those doubts you might have had at the beginning? They've been replaced by the immense satisfaction of a job well done and a whole lot of money saved. You've not only learned a valuable skill but also created a space for countless happy memories with family and friends. As you take that first refreshing dip in your revitalized pool, let the coolness of the water wash away any lingering doubts. You did it! And with proper care and maintenance, your fiberglass masterpiece will provide years of enjoyment. So go ahead, fire up that barbecue, grab your sunscreen, and get ready to make a splash. You've earned it. And hey, if you have any questions or want to share your fiberglass triumph, drop us a line in the comments below. Happy swimming!